Thank you for joining this video again, guys. This will be or one of my final videos. This is India's performance at the Cricket World Cup. Now, if you jump straight into it, right? India, I feel they were not tested. And yes, some Aussie fans might feel, okay, I'm saying this in hindsight, similar to Indian fans, but I would have said the same thing even if India would have won. They were not properly tested. And I think you understand this format by now because you might have seen this. But maybe if it's the first video you're watching in my series, I encourage you to look at my other videos. But I'll just do a quick recap of this. So these are all the favorability and unfavorability throughout the World Cup. Now, these are calculated by the matches played either in Kolkata, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Chennai, or Bangalore, where the toss is a huge factor. The favorability rating is given with how many times, like you see, right? Six. There were 6 times that this particular team played, and how many times did they play in conditions that were favorable? Like, let's say if Australia were there, right? Let's say if India were there, right? India, they played mostly in favorable conditions, as in when they won the toss in Mumbai, they batted first. When they won the toss in Ahmedabad, they bowled first. Okay, when they won the toss in Kolkata, they batted first. And then that increases the favorability points. I mean, it's not nothing to do with skill. It has to do with toss and precise decision making. Okay, so now that we've recapped that for how the favorability was calculated, I thought India were. I think this is what ran through my mind throughout the World Cup, right? That some of these results, like especially with South Africa, right, were deceptive results because, like I'd mentioned in my previous previous videos about Mumbai, right? If you look at all the scores here in Mumbai and you look at the patterns here with Mumbai, right? All the teams bowling first suffered the same consequences. Even India, when they played Australia in a bilateral ODI series, right, they suffered. So Mumbai is, at least in the recent past, it seems like it's a bat first wicket, and hopefully score big and pick up early wickets. Now that's why I was not very surprised by the way Sri Lanka capitulated. It might seem like India had it's like on cloud nine right now, but perhaps if India lost the toss and bowled first in Mumbai, maybe that could have been a different result in Mumbai, even in Kolkata. Okay, maybe you say Sri Lanka is a weak team, but I don't think they're a weak team that they'll get out. Get bowled for 55 when they're batting first in Mumbai. But this Kolkata game, I think this was particularly disappointing to me. Not with the result, because the result was a foregone conclusion. But I thought you need to hone and keep everybody interested in the game right now. I thought in South Africa, like I'd mentioned, right, in the South Africa game, like they mentioned, I thought they would change up the batting order and probably give Sky and Jadeja a longer bat, even though it was going to cost them the game, because you need to have all your batsmen interested and engaged and put them in real pressure situations. And what this might have done, right, if India won the toss and they played in unfavorable condition, i.e., giving South Africa the first dig at the pitch, right? South Africa could have very well scored 300 plus runs, and now the pressure of the 300 plus chase would have been not alien if India were to go on to play, and that would have given them more confidence, even though they lost the game by 20 runs, right? And South Africa scored something like 280 or 300, and India lost by 20 runs. That would have given the all the batsmen more confidence because they played in utterly unfavorable conditions. I don't think India were as good as bowling South Africa out for 243 if the roles would have reversed. I don't think India would have bowled out South Africa for 83 if India also if South Africa batted first, because the Indian bowlers, it was getting harder to bat in Kolkata second time around. So this result was probably, these two results were probably a little bit deceptive. And if you look at even this one, right, the first game is of Australia. You say, we as Indian fans may feel pompous. Oh yeah, we beat Australia, haha. But you have to notice that we were in deep trouble at 2 for 3, right? And then they were genuinely putting India under pressure, and even Kohli was not able to time the ball, and Australians were all over India, right? 24 for 4. See, and then Australia, remember, they had to bowl with Jew. I think virtually like, I think 40 overs of the Indian knock, Indian innings, right? So I thought, okay, this game was probably a little bit of an indication that India were maybe not that invincible. Maybe they should temper down their expectations of the team from the first game, and they should also understood that maybe maybe looking at the patterns, right, that Mumbai was probably not a good place to test. The results were not a good place to test whether you're good or not. Especially if you bat bat first. But again, that doesn't mean India didn't play well. They were still a good team in the tournament. They were, if not the best, if not the best, they were one of the best team in the tournament. Definitely one of the best team in the tournament. And they definitely deserved a place in the final, and they definitely deserved winning the cup as well, right? Just like how much our Australia did. Again, I'm not saying just because Australia won, but you could say that India also were dominant. In fact, they had a dominating performance against Afghanistan. Siraj was a concern, yes. This one, this India Pakistan game, I think I'll be consistent by saying whoever bats first in Ahmedabad are at a disadvantage, like I mentioned numerous times in my videos, right? And look at the patterns here. You can see that the average first inning score are pretty bare, and the second innings it was far more easier, and far more easier to bat second innings. And this is an anomaly. This is where I think I mentioned in my previous videos that Australia played a clutch game here, and England, to their credit, were also a little bit disoriented at the point in time. They didn't get the act together until the end of the tournament. So, but still, the bowling was good. But this result, if this any indication, was similar to this result in the final, right? I mean, people may not like that analogy that, hey, India definitely beat Pakistan comprehensively, but sometimes when you want to keep your stance consistent, right, you have to accept one or the other. You can't say both are true. India in India played better than, and Afghanistan and Australia got better of conditions. No, no, they were the exact same pitch. In fact, it was a used pitch, that same pitch they used against Pakistan. And look at the pattern, right? And look at the way things have gone in Ahmedabad. I mean, people don't usually get 350 scores, from again, from the scores here, the average first inning scores here. I think I can't do medal maths right now. I think that should be around 220 or 230, the average first inning score. This is since the stadium was relayed and renovated, named after our PM Narendra Modi. Since it opened in 2022, and you could say that this result was also a little bit deceptive. Okay, maybe if they lost here and they batted first and lost here, it would have been a good wake up call for India that, hey, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were. But okay, that went. Bangladesh, it was domination. Bangladesh were not really at this point. They were gone. They just started off well, but then they were lost. But still, kudos to India. They played well. Not much surprise here. Now this game was in New Zealand. That was a clutch game. This one again might have been another indication that, hey, yeah, it might seem like, okay, a 6 wicket, 4 wicket victory and we're done, right? But at one point in time, New Zealand were looking close to getting 300 or something, right? And then our bowlers bowled exceedingly well. And at the same time, even the England game, the bowling was very good, and England, like, they messed up against Australia, they messed up against us. I understand that the India bowled exceedingly well, but when you're 27 for 4 in 10 overs, and you top order just virtually collapse, right? There's nothing much you can expect from the lower order as well. They were still in the hunt for this game, at least in the first 5 overs of their knock, and then they just threw it away, and Ben Stokes played a horrendous shot, but still Ben Stokes played a horrendous shot, but still clutch bowling performances from India, from Jadeja, and good captaincy for Rohit Sharma and his own personal performance. Um, and yeah, Siraj and Shami, Siraj and Bumrah and Shami, even Siraj bowled well this game, so no complaints there. India versus Sri Lanka, of course, the same thing. It's a deceptive result. Of course, Kohli played exceedingly well in this game. I mean, he played well, but that performance, right? Kohli's performance in both the Sri Lanka and South Africa game would have been more impressive if we batted second in both the games and tested ourselves against Maharaj and Shamsi. And I mean, I'm not very familiar with what the Sri Lanka team is right now, but I think Madhusuna, whatever, their spinners and their fast bowlers under lights in both conditions. That would have been more interesting, and that would have actually given us a gaze into what our batting frailties were. I think Australian batting frailties were exposed because they were constantly got into this sort of unfavorable conditions where they batted when it was better to bowl first, and they bowled when they better to bat first because of the toss, because they lost all the tosses in these sort of wickets. And again, no surprise with Netherlands, and they had fair. They didn't, of course, they challenged themselves. They batted in unfavorable conditions, and they dominated the game. So good performance by India. But I felt in this both games they missed the opportunity to test out what you call Jadeja Sky, and probably give Kishan a run, and probably rest Bumrah and Shami. But okay, that's what is done. That is done. India, New Zealand again. New Zealand again put up a good shot despite of you know standing up to the what do you call the 40-degree heat of the Mumbai afternoon, and the humidity and sweat, and the crowd behind them. New Zealand, I thought they played brilliantly. Yes, some people might think, oh, we dominated New Zealand. No, no, no. There were some points you had to look at some nuances here, right? At some point, New Zealand were also batting first, and remember what in the 10 overs, like I said in Mumbai, in the first 10-15 overs, right, you had to be very watchful. Otherwise, you would be down by what do you call 6 wickets or 5 wickets in the first 10 overs. So, and then, much to the credit of Daryl Mitchell and Kane Williamson, I thought they've done this fantastically. And of course, Shami, Kohli, and Shreyas Iyer, they played well, and especially Shreyas Iyer and Rohit Sharma, who just never let the New Zealand spinners settle. And I think those extra 30 runs by Shreyas Iyer, even KL Rahul at the end, the hastiness with which they got the runs at the end, probably won us the game, because 360, I can easily see New Zealand coasting to the target. Yeah. So that I'm so here. It's okay so far from until right now, until the final, right? I would say, okay, India definitely deserve to be in the final because they played consistently throughout. But maybe some of this performance, right? They over exaggerated our team's capabilities. It's better that we challenge ourselves here. I understand Sri Lanka game is still not qualified, so you don't take any chance, by batting or batting second or something. But this one they could have tried that out, and probably if they lost the game against South Africa, our expectations would have been tempered by the time we went to Australia. In fact, in a reverse way, that would actually kept the team on top of the toes, and they might have played better in Ahmedabad. But still, I think this is the first time that India were forced to play in unfavorable conditions here. They chose to play in unfavorable conditions with the Netherlands and Bangalore, because Bangalore is always a bad second wicket, right? Here, I think they were forced to, for the first time, Australia got favorable conditions and India got unfavorable conditions, and yeah, this match was unfortunately toss dependent. Then that's the sad part about this, right? That's the sad part where I thought, okay, they would employ different strategies. Now I want to compare India's campaign versus Australia's campaign. Australia, I think they just scraped through. Yes, the first two games, the first game. I don't think the first game I would call it a blowout, because they played in unfavorable conditions in Chennai, where they had to bowl in Jew for virtually most of the match. This game, I think this game probably worried them a lot, because here at least they had a sniff with India. They were 2 for 3 and they were almost 24 for 4. But here South Africa, I think, gave them no chance at all. They completely squeezed i- Australia here. And if you look at it, right, we always got favorable conditions, and maybe we were deceived we were deceived into how well India was playing. But Australia, right, they were always kept on check because they played in unfavorable conditions. Here, even look at the game in Pakistan, right? Oh, they played in unfavorable conditions, and then still they managed to win by 50 runs. And people might suggest that, hey, they got 360 and winning by 57 runs is not a big deal, right? But the same could be said about here, right? India versus New Zealand also. If you compare these two games with Australia, Pakistan, they chased well, very well against New Zealand as well. They chased very well against Sri Lanka. They chased well against I think one of the other teams, right? But if you'd have had this similar sort of situation, right, Pakistan would have also coasted along. Pakistan would have coasted along, and Bangalore is always a ridiculously easy pitch to bat first, second up. And if you have two evenly matched teams, right, and then the first team doesn't get enough runs on the board, like maybe 350 plus, probably the second team has the odds of winning, right? Yeah, Pakistan, they had a lower order frailties a little bit, but still they gave Australia a good run for the money, and Australian bowling was really tested at the time. Sure, they went for some runs, but they bowled in absolutely unfavorable conditions when there was a lot of dew. I don't know if Bangalore had dew, but Bangalore definitely is not favorable, conducive to bowling in the second innings. And Netherlands utter domination was pretty much here. There's nothing much to talk about. Now this New Zealand game, right? I think this New Zealand Australia game and India New Zealand game both were played in Dharmashala. And even though India might seem like that they've got through much more easily, but New Zealand gave a tough fight to both Australia and India, right? But here is one thing I would like to point out. India, although they had some batting frailties, the batting frailties of Australia were much more exposed. And you might feel, hey, in Australia scored 388 runs. How can you say they had batting frailties? Again, like I mentioned in my previous video, when your team is 118 for zero, and you 118 for zero in 10 overs, you would expect to get 420, right, from there, because adding 300 runs, you're like 420, 418, 420, and Australia didn't manage to do that. They were literally being strangled against spin, and this is why I thought, like I mentioned, right, why I put green here. This is why I thought that even if India were to put up a good batting track in the final, especially in the final, right, they might have had Australia in trouble, because Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav would have strangled the Australian batting order. Even if they batted first and Warner and Head got off to a fantastic start, right? Jadeja, Kuldeep Yadav, or even Rohit Sharma would have turned their hands, and they would have literally not let Head or Warner or Marsh get away. In fact, this game became interesting because of Marsh, Smith, and Labuschagne. Now, if they produce a flat batting track, now Australia would have been confused with, hey, what do we do right now? Do we drop Labuschagne and bring in Stoinis? No, they would have thought a lot harder right now. But by producing um, such a wicket in the final, right, they gave Australia a sniff. Again, I would have said the same thing if India won the final. I think India prepared a bad wicket for the finals. They should have prepared a pitch that was less reliant on the toss and gave both the teams equal chance to win. Not because of toss. I think Australia, they would have had no chance. And again, I'll put it this way: it's like if you had a triangular, India, Australia, and Pakistan at Ahmedabad. Okay, and if Australia, if the results would have been different in these two matches. India, Australia, India, Pakistan would have been different had a different team batted first and a different team bowled first. That is, I think based on how I'm seeing it from this point right now, I think that was the case. But I didn't understand why they would not produce a for this pitch like this in the World Cup final. Yes, now if you produce a pitch like this, and if Australia were to bat first, right, like this pitch, or maybe this pitch against Bangladesh, because you could get 300 against Australia, if they batted or bowled first, right? So if you produce like these two pitches right now, now let's assume that Australia batted first on a good batting track, right? Now they would be under pressure. They would be under more pressure because they don't know what's a good score. Even a World Cup final, right? And the pitch getting too easy, as we saw how easy the pitch was to bat on, and that would have gotten easy for India. They could have chased on anything on over 320. Maybe if Australia got 380, maybe they would have been a little bit concerned. But I don't think Australia were going to get 380 with the bowling attack. And it's not like Dharmasala where Maxwell could and Pat Cummins, like in this game, right? It was Maxwell and Pat Cummins who rescued them. Otherwise, they would have got to 350 and they lost this. They could have very well lost this game, Australia. But too much to their credit, their lower order, their lower middle order was excellent. That's why they managed to get to 388. But again, you have to think. Okay, now Steve Smith was not a good player against spin. Marsh definitely doesn't start well against spin. And then you had Labuschagne and Smith, who are not like super quick with the wickets, or neither are they like super aggressive with the bat. So if you just put a mid on mid off, they would have got caught by Jadeja, or they would have been caught in the crease by Kuldeep Yadav, even if you produce a good batting track. And at worst case scenario, they would have got 300, and India would have not had such a problem chasing 300 on a bad batting track. I mean, I'm just thinking of all the worst case scenarios before the night, and I never thought that India were going to produce such sort of wicket, giving Australia even a sniff. I think the more aggressive the approach would have been. Okay, India produced a flat track. Australia, whether they batted or bowled first, if they batted first, they would have been under pressure to get more than 300, and they would have been absolutely thinking of 280 at least. Okay, or if they bowled first, India would have definitely gotten 350 or 360, and India wouldn't have been under such a pressure to get those runs, because we have been getting all those runs throughout the World Cup, right? So I can say, okay, it's India. It's our tactics to blame. It's India's tactics to blame. I don't know who is responsible for picking that pitch at Ahmedabad. Maybe they got sentimental because they beat because they beat Pakistan on the same pitch. I don't know, but you should have known that. Yeah, in a clutch game, and especially in the World Cup final, you should have had this sort of pitch. Either the pitch that they played in Australia and New Zealand, a fat batting track, or they should have had a pitch like the one they produce in Bangladesh. I understand they could have easily, they had plenty of opportunities to do this. They would have easily exported soil instead of black soil. They could have put in some red soil. They could have easily done that because it's a World Cup final and you had to give India every chance to win. They could have even relayed the pitch and made a hard bouncy track, or they could have watered the pitch. They could have, I know, I'm not a pitch expert, but these are all the common things they could have done. They could have watered the pitch a lot more. They could have left a lot more grass to make it hard, to make it easy for stroke play in the final. But okay, that's fine. I mean, yeah, but even taking those out of the equation, right? India was still a good side. They played like these two matches gave me a lot of confidence that they were a World Cup winning side. And just like how these games against, especially against New Zealand, the basics that Australia followed on the field, right? They were exemplary, and they did it under pressure, right? So this game also, India, they were 229. They wanted to save the winning streak, and then the way they came and executed their plans against the England. Again, I understand they were a little bit distraught at the time, but still getting that early wickets and playing well. This game gave me confidence that India can also go on to win. And this game against New Zealand, and probably this game against England, yes, these two games also gave me a lot of confidence that Australia were also on a way to the finals and they can be world champions. They can be deserved world champions. But still, I felt India had a slight edge going into the final. And like I said in my previous videos, I thought the only way India are going to lose this, based on the patterns in Ahmedabad, is that they produce a dull wicket that gave a sniff to both teams, a low scoring game. Very likely that will give Australia a chance if Australia bowl first, and I thought that Australia were never going to win the game if they batted first, regardless of whatever the conditions were, because they would be under pressure of the World Cup to get runs. It would have been as bad as chasing. That's what Pat Cummins alluded to in the finals, right? In the final press conference, saying, "Hey, we would have pretty much prefer to bowl first, because in the World Cup final you also have pressure while while batting first, because you don't know what target to set." So I mean, good on him to read the conditions properly, and that's why they are world champions right now. There's no two ways about it. I mean, I'm not going to say they were better on the day. I mean, if you look at it, right, again, like if India played at least one of this, at least against South Africa in unfavorable conditions, they won that game, and they played against Pakistan in unfavorable conditions and they won the game, I would have said, okay, yeah, they deserved the what you call the confidence that that they have. They deserve the the superlatives with which other people were describing them about their invincibility, right? If they won this in unfavorable conditions. But I think three of these matches, I mean, all the matches that India had, they got the favorable conditions, and they were in trouble. They were in trouble against Australia. They were in trouble against England. They were in trouble against New Zealand. I think they were 160 for 4. If I'm not six, I think no, I think they were like let's see the India New Zealand game. I think they were like 200, 196 for 6 or 196 for 4 before, 186 for 5, 196 for 4 before Ravindra Jadeja arrived. So yeah, I mean, that's how I can rest easy at night that okay, this was not as disappointing as I thought it was. It seemed I was also confident that India were going to win, but they were only going to win with if Australia batted first. I mean, India again. Even I also thought that India can still win if they bowl first. Sorry, if they batted first. If they get 280, I think it would have been too much for Australia to handle. The reason why, yes, Australia they played well. They just they looked scrapey, but they got unfavorable. They got some certain unfavorable conditions to play in. At the same time, like I said, how many times I've noted about their batting frailties, especially when they're starting against spin with any spinners, with Glenn Phillips, with Ravindra, with Rachin Ravindra, with who we call mm, yeah, Satner, and even the game against England, right? I think Adil Rashid bowled very well. Yes, I understand that that game was in Ahmedabad, but Adil Rashid bowled exceeding well, and he didn't give Australia any sniff at all. I think it was like 10 overs 30 for a thing. So I thought, okay, this is going to be very interesting. That Australia were going to struggle against spin if they batted first, and even if they bowled first, even if they bowled first in the evening, they were going to use Jadeja or Kuldeep Yadav very early on, so that Jude doesn't come into the factor, and then Kuldeep and Jadeja would be able to take control of the situation if India had 280. And they Australia really looked like losing the final two. 247 for 3. One more wicket here. It was, yeah, it was okay. So that's why the reason why I still kept on watching the match, even though I know 240 wasn't going to be enough, is because I was maybe hoping that Australian batting frailties will come through. Yeah, they did show some calm in the semi-final, but still this semi-final was very unconvincing for me. Yes, they got some luck and English played well, but still it was very unconvincing. They should have not struggled that much to get 200, even though I know it's a tough trick to bat on. But if you're relying on a low middle order, that means you batted poorly. You batted ordinarily, maybe not poor, or maybe not poor, but ordinarily. To get those runs. So that's what I was hoping. That's what I was hoping for. But good on Australia. They read the conditions well. Had played out of the world. I know Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. They played well, but Gill, he didn't play such a good shot. Iyer, he got a good delivery. And one more thing I would like to say is I don't think they lost the final because of KL Rahul. No, I think KL Rahul was probably a little bit concerned that Sky did not get enough batting time, which is what they should have done here in the game against South Africa. Give Sky maybe 30, 40 overs to play, but that's a story for another day. Now, maybe that's why they slowed down. And you also have to provide emphasis on the way Australia fielded and Australia bowled. Maybe I was just counting the number of balls because I was so concerned about not India losing another wicket. I think they were also in the mindset. I think Australia had Travis. I think he changed the bowling around. He fielded well, and without they put the fielding in right place. Pat Cummins fielded well. Bonner, Lavashane, Smith. I mean everybody. Maxwell. I don't think Maxwell was in infield. I think so. Yeah, everybody. Even the captains of Pat Cummins. They dove. They did not let the spinners. They did not let the singles against spinners. So yeah, kudos to them. They deserve to win, but. Again I will tell you once more time, if India bowled first, they would also won the game. So mm, for the love of cricket, I'm an Indian cricket fan, but for the love of cricket, if you really wanted to if you really wanted to play a game that was not toss dependent, they should have had final somewhere else. But I understand, they wanted to project India's development, and they want to project a big beautiful stadium. Maybe that's the reason why they had Ahmedabad. But if you set that aside, right, they could have easily produced a nice, beautiful batting track that had a sheen on it, that even the floodlights could be seen. No grass at all, just dead grass that holds the surface together, just compact, just rolled compact and good pitch to bat on. They should have done that, and that would really had that would really set that would really set that would really set no debates about who was the world champion at the time. Right now, this one, it definitely seems like it was toss dependent. I'm not making two calls about it, but they should have prepared a better pitch to have a more solid world champion. If you win a solid world champion, again I would have said the same thing even if India would have won. Even if India would have won, because India, they were a little bit deceptive with a couple of the results, and Australia, they were a little bit scrapey, and India also had some couple of close games. They had a close game with Australia, even though it doesn't seem like it. So yeah, it's very hard to say that any team had comprehensively beaten another team, because so much hinged on the toss in the finals. But yeah, what to do? This was again, but still, they should the BCCA or the cricketing the management team of the cricket team should have had a better better attitude. They should have gone out with a better pitch. I am sure that the coach and the captain were consulted. I don't know whether they were given a choice to change the pitch. I wish they were given a choice to change the pitch, and I wish they would take a different pitch. But maybe they were counting on Australia to be intimidated by the spinners, and maybe they thought, okay, let's just let's just bowl first, right? And Rohit Sharma, yeah, that was a bad shot to play at the conditions, but good catch by head, I guess. I think 240 was never going to be enough on that pitch, but there was a little bit of, I think, somebody from Sports Tuck, I think he says, oh, we had some artificial excitement. It was true. I mean, you could say, okay, Smith didn't review that thing. It didn't look out. Maybe this game would have been done and dusted, and we wouldn't have had any of those close things also. But yeah, that's how this World Cup ended. Like I said, it ended because of a toss. Thank you.